basketball analysis with over 70 years combined experience. This is the Bob Ryan and Jeff Goodman Podcast.
Gary Tangway, Bob Ryan here, folks. Let's talk some hoops, brought to you by Prize Picks, the exclusive daily fantasy partner of the CLNS Media Network. Pick more, pick less with Prize Picks. Bob, how are you tonight, my friend?
I'm doing fine. Feel good today. Everything's good.
That's good. All right, so let's get to it. Now we're actually starting to talk about some basketball, as in preseason is underway. We're talking about roles. And one of your favorite players, Pritchard, was front and center the other night, where he said that, you know, it's interesting. I forgot that he demanded a trade.
Yeah, 2 years ago.
2 years ago, I forgot he had demanded a trade.
22-23, he was not a happy camper. And you know, that got rectified last year.
Big time.
I don't know whether Joe Mazzulla's light went off in his head or what exactly. To me, Pritchard, I don't see much difference in him, Gary, since he showed up.
Well, I think Marcus, when Marcus left.
Yeah, that was it. This Marcus, that's right. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that he created a need that he was ready. He had a terrific year for a substitute guard last year,
right.
and he's fulfilling his role. And his preseason is off the charts, really so far. He's an asset. And at both ends of the floor, that's the thing that people don't often acknowledge. He's a pest on defense. And I have this thing I've been saying, I think to you for, several months at the end of last season. He's guaranteed for one sneaky offensive rebound a game.
He is. Yeah, he is. Yeah.
A tough little bastard. And a shooter. And he's not a star, never going to be an all-star, but boy, he's an asset. You know, it's like I said, he's a combination. Now, this is going to rein in two separate levels and eras of Celtic fans, but I hope they eat he's a combination of Larry Siegfried and Eddie House.
Well, that's I've heard the Larry Siegfried and I've heard the Jerry Seasting. You've come up with that one.
Well, you know what?
Eddie House Siegfried, that's a new one.
Well, you know why? Because I used to say Seasting. And
right.
I'm not lying. I'm telling you the gospel truth right here. I used to say Seasting, and yet as I was speaking to you 25 seconds ago, Eddie House flashed into my head instead of Seasting, and it made perfect sense to me on the fly, because but take your pick. You know, he's yeah. It's more like, offensively, it's probably more like Eddie, although Seasting was not a 3-point shooter.
Well, it wasn't part of it, and it wasn't prevalent in the game the way it is today.
You know that, and I got to say, I never want to miss an opportunity to praise Jerry Seasting that he shot in the last 13 games of the 1985-86 regular season. He shot 65% from the floor in a 13-game stretch down the stretch, and you know that 90% of the 65% were foul line jump shots.
Oh yeah. 15.
And my friend, the great Lee Montville, used to talk about Seasting, who strictly was a perimeter player, and said the title of Jerry Seasting's autobiography will be "I've Never Been to the Paint."
Right.
Anyway, Payton Pritchard is off to a great start, as is Sam Hauser, and they are, they're both turning out to be what they were supposed to be. So, and Hauser undrafted, out of Marquette,
right?
And Pritchard, a second round pick, but Sam Hauser turned out to be a wonderful addition to the cast. And I still go back. There was one of the early exhibitions. I think it was the second one. He made a move to the hoop. I said, "Oh my God, where'd that come from?" It was highly acrobatic. We know he can shoot the ball, but. So things look good from there. They've been my big takeaway from that, and the fact that Jaylen Brown, look out world. Look out world. That's all I can say. That guy wants to show somebody something this year, I think, and it's not in spite. It's just he's just found himself a way to motivate himself further, and he's in the best shape he's ever been in, which is saying a lot. And he's been a terrific player in the preseason.
Well, if Tatum finds his 3-point shot again, which I believe he will,
yeah, it's coming. It's coming around. It's coming around. So, yeah.
But forget about it. If that happens, it's over. I say it's over. We'll get to Philly in a minute. They've already got health issues. But
Embiid is, played 39 games last year. He never plays more than 60-ish games.
But I'll get to those guys in a minute. But back to Pritchard. What I also liked when he spoke to the media is he's happy with his role. There's no. And he played 22 minutes a game last year, which I didn't realize it was that high.
Yeah, it was. And, let's face it, you're looking around at the league, and a league where people are making upwards of $40 million a year. And, right. He's realistic. He's not that kind of player. But, he's looking around. I'm sure he's measuring himself against certain people and certain teams and saying, I'm as good as him, and I deserve, to play more. I deserve. But I think he appreciates he's on a team, that the guys he's playing behind, he respects totally. And I think now that Joe Mazzulla has much more apparent confidence in him than he had 2 years ago, that he's going to, be out there at important times. And he appreciates the whole circumstance. He's got a ring and got a good chance for another ring. And why rock the boat? He's not like he's starving. And so he's not greedy in that regard. No, it's very important that he feel that way. Which brings me to another guy, by the way. They picked up an interesting guy in Lonnie Walker IV, who's coming off a very nice second half of the year with the Nets. He's bounced around, but he's an offensive guy. And I don't know him enough about anything about his personality. But when you bring in a guy like that, you got to vet him that he understands where he fits into this team and what the expectations are. He's making a bid. He's coming off. Not the game that is taking place as we speak, but the game before that, 20-point game with 8 for 15 from the floor, and making a bid for the roster and maybe a bid for some playing time. And would he accept a lesser role to have a chance to get the ring? And the other issue, though, if they can't even afford to keep him, his price tag is substantial. And they have to worry about the payroll very definitely, how he would possibly fit in.
Well, as we have read, that is one of the reasons the Celtics or the prospect share is on the block.
Yeah.
That's an issue. Irv is not into paying $250 million over the cap.
So if it comes down to Lonnie Walker versus a younger player like Springer or Walsh, it'll be an interesting thing because in paper, he's a nice insurance policy in theory. If everybody, you got two guards who start over 30. One of them is 33 or 4,
right?
And Holiday, and you can't guarantee they're going to not get through the season unscathed. And he would be a nice insurance policy if he's willing to accept his role here.
Well,
I'm not saying he won't. I don't know the guy. I don't know anything about the guy other than I remember him in college at Miami. I saw him play at BC, and I know he's had he's an auxiliary player, but he's had his moments, and he had a lot of those moments for the Nets last year. And so, you wouldn't mind having a guy on the payroll, on the bench that could play a serious player.
Well, to me, you keep him because you're not grooming anybody for the future. We're winning now, right?
Yeah,
we want to win. Like this team could win 3 straight.
That's a good point.
We're winning now, so you want that guy in case.
Well, here's where you made an allusion to it. The sale, it does cloud the issue for this team.
Well, it does. I say people, but financially, But so I don't know. Like obviously, he's got a big number for. His price is going to be more than generally what his price. He's outpriced himself for the position he's in.
Yeah, right.
There's no question he's overpaid, but he's not the only reason they're like $250 million over the cap, or they're gonna, he's not the problem. But so I don't know, but in the fact that the team is on the block, but they haven't been sold yet, I don't know if it enters into the picture.
You hit on a big issue, and this is a big issue in all sports. Not right now. Our pressing issue is the immediacy of the Boston Celtics in their immediate future, and how they're going to keep this group together and what their potential is. Because we know the last time we had a great group, they could have won 3 and they won 1, and in both cases it was because somebody got hurt.
Correct.
First case was because Garnett got hurt. They were even better than they were in '08. He got hurt. They didn't get through the playoffs. And the second time, there were no excuses. They should have won. They should have won. They should have beaten the Lakers in Game 7. They didn't do it. Okay, fine. And then it was over after that. Okay.
Right.
This group, right. But that's where, in all sports, guys, the owners sign people to big, whopping things and things that are going to have distasteful endings, long multi-year contracts. But then the guy's in his mid-30s or later. I'm talking all sports now, and he's not worth it, and you're stuck with it. Blah blah blah. But you just think about the immediacy. Who's going to buy this team at the exorbitant price it's going to take, and be willing to ride out these contracts?
That's a great question, because it can't be a long list.
You gotta, somewhere out there, we're praying that there's some guy that bleeds green, that is a Celtic sicko from youth or college or something, who happens to have a few $1 billion,
look at what Bomber built for a new building in LA.
Yeah, right.
And that was $2 billion. It wasn't an issue for him. So, it has to be someone from Silicon Valley or something.
So I say to Celtic fans, we got to live. We're living day by day until we find out who the owner is, and then you're living day by day with this thing. But it won't affect this year. It won't affect this year. It will start to come into play at the earliest in 25, 26.
You can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. Hey, sign up today. Get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Cook up hot takes with your friends and win real money this football season when you and your crew run your game on Prize Picks. This week on the Prize Picks football board, Justin Jefferson for more than 83.5 receiving yards, and Patrick Mahomes for less than 267.5 passing yards. Download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Again, download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game.
And the other thing that happens too, Bob, and we've seen this, and we don't begrudge anybody, but certainly during the Patriots' heyday, guys would leave to get paid. I mean, Perk got paid when he was traded.
Yes.
And he would not have the safety net that he has now if he had remained with the Boston Celtics. So you're talking about tens of millions of dollars for players. So Pritchard, who's a very young man, plays this year, say he plays next year, say he gets another ring or maybe 3. After Pritchard gets 3 rings, somebody wants to overpay this guy. You gotta take it.
Then he would.
Somebody will.
Then he would be Larry Siegfried. So
right. But that's what happens with these
now,
guys.
having said that, Siggy is no longer with us, regrettably, and he was a very interesting guy. But I got to see if there's anybody around that could possibly know what he was getting paid. I'd just love to know.
Oh my God!
Reference. I mean, it'd be like it's 5 figures and not that many. Believe me.
Right. No, you're right.
People, the young generation have no idea what Siggy was like. But I can still hear Johnny Most, Garrett. Siggy's in his shirt. So, all right.
Characters.
Yeah.
But with this team, but you mentioned Walker. I think he's got to stick. And I think that, Joe can get him some minutes, get him ready. I just remember during the 08 season, we saw a team, P.J. Brown, Posey, some big plays.
Sam Cassell showed up and started chewing into Eddie House's minutes until, the crucial moments. Then I wasn't happy about that because I thought Eddie House had done nothing to lose his playing time. And I wasn't unhappy. I didn't dislike Sam Cassell or anything like that. But I remember being, as a fan, and being upset that Eddie House was losing time. But it all worked out. Eddie made his significant contribution in the finals. He got his ring. Sam got his, and everybody, everybody.
Oh, it's all good.
But, the great story of P.J. Brown, it can't be told enough. He was actively recruited like he was a high school senior.
Oh, yeah.
By the cadre, by Garnett, Pierce, and Allen, particularly Garnett and Pierce. I believe, and they literally saw him in the All-Star game walking down the street.
Right. Jumped out of the car. PJ.
Yeah. And hey, if only for the one moment he beat the Cavaliers with a jump shot and a close game, in a 1-point game or 2-point game, but he gave them exactly what they needed. He was the ideal veteran, and those stories you can't tell often enough.
You believe in the Sixers, and I don't, because of health. Paul George, he's got an issue now, and
he's up. Yeah,
I just don't. Poor Embiid, he can't stay healthy. George is too old. I don't know.
George is healthy. He's hurt already, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's hurt already. That's caveat emptor with him. And yeah, that's right. On paper, and I like the auxiliary things they added. Reggie Jackson and there's a couple. Andre Drummond, who can still rebound, by the way. He's one of the premier rebounders in the league still, I think. And they added their bench to the bench, but it's all conversation if George can't give them what they need,
right?
To change the equation there. And of course, Embiid, you just turn over the hourglass when he's going to get hurt. So that's the issue.
I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah, I mean the Knicks are more of a viable threat because there's less of those potential issues. I think they're still a little. No, the Knicks they got a thing. They're looking for. I mean, I fully expect that they will be the opponents in the Eastern Conference Finals. Not that I'm dismissing Cleveland, by the way, or Indiana, but I think the Knicks will turn out to be
I
good.
think right now, when you look at trying to beat the Celtics, you have to look at depth, right? And you have to look at certain positions. And the championship teams we have seen in the past have all been two-person teams, if you will, whether it be Denver, whether it be Dallas. Now, Golden State is a different story, but they don't have the roster that they once had.
No,
I'm going by memory. I'm talking off the top of my head. The team with the closest roster to the Celtics are the Knicks.
Yeah.
And they're still not close to the Celtics.
No, they went out and they got Anunoby, I guess, at the trading deadline, or
right.
At least sometime. And they got Mikal Bridges. And they're not even making any secret. That's hopefully that they can match up, they think, with
right.
Brown. And I bring them on. Bring them on. Okay?
I
That's
agree.
okay. That's fine. And then they went and got Karl Anthony Towns, who they hope, although no one said that out loud, but I'm saying they have to hope he can do for them what Porzingis did for the Celtics, stretch the floor at 7 feet. He must be honored. You could ignore Hartenstein once he walked away from the basket. You can always ignore Mitchell Robinson when he walks away from the basket, but you can't ignore Karl Anthony Towns when he walks away from the basket. So you got that, and he can also post up. What his reputation is, and we'll see, is that he's soft in general. At the other end,
right?
And he may get some statistical stats on the rebounds, but he's not a tough guy. And Hartenstein was tough. And Robinson lives just to block shots and dominate, but Towns is totally different. But he will make them there'll be some night, Garrett, they're going to have, maybe they may go for 5 guys and dubs themselves. They may have it. And they're going to have at least 4 on nights. They're going to score a lot of points, I would think. Now, will they defend like the Celtics? They hope that Bridges and Anunoby will help them do that. But at the other positions, I'm not sure that Brunson, and I, not to diss Brunson, but he's not going to make the all-defensive team. But he certainly is an offensive genius in a wonderful team.
Oh, he's a great player. He's a wonderful player. Yeah. I think Miami's out of it.
Well, they got it starts with Butler, how many games, and then I don't think they've added anything.
Even if Butler's healthy, and I'm a fan of the guy, just as a basketball fan. I mean, how can you not be?
Yeah, no, he's a wonderful player.
But he's not enough.
No. They got Bam is good. All right, they got Bam. Bam is arguably as good as American-born center as we have because look at Embiid is from Cameroon, and I'm just saying Embiid's from Cameroon.
I know, but
Towns is from North Jersey, so he's American. That qualifies, But I would, if I had to win a game tonight, would you take Bam Adebayo or would you take Karl Anthony Towns? I would take Bam Adebayo.
Oh, I'd take Adebayo, but but you mentioned the centers. I mean, but it's so funny because for Dallas or Denver or even Porzingis, I guess those guys are technically centers. They just don't play like it.
No, the position has evolved and changed, and and Jokic is.
No, but I take Bam. But I understand what you're saying. Bam is. I don't think he's as good a player.
He's developed into a scorer, and he's our. Look at one other guy. He's not a center, but he's a 4-5 hybrid, and I love him. And I think and we're going to need him in 20. Mark it down for 2028, and we get to the Olympics. And that's Paolo Banchero. He's the comer. He's the comer. Now I'm not saying Orlando, the team is going to be a threat, but Banchero is really good, really good. I want to talk a little bit before we, having been to the Hall of Fame ceremony the other night in
yes.
spring, and they do a wonderful job, and one problem in terms of the evenings. Ongoing nature, they're honoring 12 people. That's a lot.
That's a lot.
Going speeches, but 2 of them were posthumous, and the speeches that the people represented them weren't long. That was and Dick Barnett, who's 88, had to have a pre-recorded speech because he's 88, came out in a wheelchair, and one of his sponsors, it was also in a wheelchair, and I didn't know he was Earl Monroe. And I had seen him a year ago. And the Pearl, I didn't know, but he's in a wheelchair. And the one who wasn't in a wheelchair, which sponsored him, was Bill Bradley. But Barnett gave a nice little, pre-recorded speech, but he's 88 and in not good health at all. I got to tell you about, people have to know, and I haven't tried it myself. It's got to be YouTubeable, and I would recommend it to people. Simone Augustus went in, and Simone Augustus, who was from Baton Rouge, and obviously oozes Creole, Cajun, vibrancy. She's proud woman of that world. She starts off singing a little ditty. I think it had en français, or no, it may not even been en français. It was in a patois of some kind. Okay, as I recall, but it was a little ditty. She sings, and then she launches into her acceptance speech. Her acceptance poem that she wrote, and then recited spontaneously, not even using the prompter. Wow. I mean, talk about stealing the show.
Yeah.
Oh wow, So all props. She had everybody's mouth open. She was so good. God love her, Simone Augustus. So she stole the show in the long run. My favorite guy honored was Michael Cooper.
Right.
He was extremely gracious, extremely good, really good. And I love the part where he cited that he was so proud to be the 5th defensive-oriented player that to get into the Hall. Starting, he ticked them off, of course, with Rodman and Bobby Jones, and Wallace and Dikembe, and then him, and he may have. And what? Think about it. It's it's very rare that a defensive-oriented player.
Wallace. Which Wallace?
Ben Wallace.
Ben is in. Got
in a couple of years ago. He gave a legendary speech there. He gave a great speech. Yeah. Ben Wallace is in the Hall of Fame. I'm sorry if you don't like that.
I don't know, Bob. I mean,
borderline things.
Well, that's it. Okay.
Larry was there in support of Herb Simon, the owner of the Pacers for the last 40 years.
Yeah.
Larry was there with Reggie Miller in support of Herb Simon, and but 2 people. There's always somebody that runs through the stop sign. Now you got to sign when you get up there. There's a clock ticking off 10 minutes.
Oh yeah.
And I love the guy. I've known him 50 years, literally. And he's one of my all-time favorite opponents. Personally and professionally. Doug Collins.
Okay? Oh yeah.
He talked for over a half hour. And it was the word. And the thing about it, it was the thing you absolutely don't want to do. And then I did this, and then I did that, and then I went there, and then I went there, and then I went there, and then I did, okay. Now. And
you were replaced by Phil Jackson.
Well, you need and then Doug, you needed the hook for Doug, okay. The other guy who spoke at great length, it was kind of charming, though, but it was the last one. After 3 hours, people are ready to go,
Oh, yeah.
Now, We started 6. It went 3 hours and 15 minutes. Okay, we started 6. Vince Carter, who played for 8 teams, gave us teammate thank yous to every team, teammates, not every last one, but he told us he had 241 teammates in the history of his career.
Donnie Marshall spoke highly of him.
He came off really smart and really polished and really thoughtful. Yes, he did. He came off very, very well.
'Tis the most wonderful time of the year. Yes, the NBA season, folks. It is the best. Look, the NFL is great. I understand. But if you're looking into star power, celebrity, entertainment, it's the NBA. There's no doubt about it. And my Celtics, I'm looking for them to defend. We need a new dynasty in the NBA. We need one. Okay? And I think this Celtic group can do it. I know the Celtic group can do it. And you know who else, from what I understand, is a Celtic fan? Is Hugh Jackman. Yes. Wolverine himself, the greatest showman, Hugh Jackman, is a big Celtic fan. And if you're like us and you want to check out the Celtics or maybe any other team that happens to be coming to town to try to knock off the kings of the NBA, the Celtics, make sure you go to Game Time. Download the Game Time app. Now, Game Time, and you can get your Celtics tickets there. It's really easy to do. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier because Game Time Picks filters out the fluff, right, to show you incredible deals and great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Like when I go to my Game Time app, it says Celtics game right there. Boom, pops up, how much the price is. I'm ready to go. It's as simple as that. They have super deals. They're as good as it gets. Check it out on the Game Time app. And again, I can't emphasize how easy it is, even for an idiot like me. You download the app. It's got a G on it for Game Time. You just click it on. You can designate where you want to go, what you want to do. You can, favorite your games and your cities and so forth. And it pops up on the screen. You click it on, and there you go. And you're off and running. It's as simple as that. They also have curated deals that make it easy to find best prices and great seats. They have the super deal. And I love this part. You know the view of your seats before you buy them. You know what you're getting. And it has the lowest price guarantee, event cancellation protection, job loss protection, and so much more. So, Game Time Picks. Curation makes it easier to save more on concerts, comedy, theater, sports. Oh, speaking of concerts, Coldplay coming to Gillette Stadium in July of 2025. Tickets are already up on Game Time. Not bad either. Not bad at all. And the Jingle Ball Kiss, the iHeart Jingle Ball at the Garden, you can get tickets on that too. And they always have big stars around Christmas time. So all-in pricing, toggling, they call it toggling. It shows you everything up front. No surprise fees at checkout. And I mentioned the seat views, great panoramic views, so you know you're buying. Game Time ticket coverage. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time Picks. Download the Game Time app, create an account. Use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code CLNS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game time.
Yeah.
When Donnie and I were doing the games, doing the pre and post game show, then Vince went to the Nets. Donnie was tight with Jason Kidd, and he knew, but he always liked Vince. And Vince, he always felt that maybe Vince got a bit of a bad rap. He was never really a selfish player. He was a high flyer.
High flyer, up supreme. And of course, they had a great montage of his dunks, and of course.
Oh, yeah.
And I said they should have invited Frederick Weiss. You know that story, right? The famous dunk in the exhibition game over the Frenchman.
Right. Yes.
Weiss.
That would have been for those who don't, what can you tell it?
It was. You think you've seen high flying dunks over? He's a 7-footer, and he must have taken off from 20 feet away, and he dunked over Frederick Weiss of France, and it became instantly a legend, instantly iconic. I'm sure you could YouTube that. Just go Vince Carter / Frederick Weiss. I bet you it's there. And then you know what I'm talking about. I'll wrap this up with that. Anything else? So Jerry West goes in for the third time. The first time was a player, naturally. The second time, they inducted the 1960 Olympic team en masse. And he and Oscar Robertson were the two, and Russell, they were the three on that. Wow. Some stars on that team. And then now he went in for a all-around executive contributor, which he was. He was a great executive with the Lakers. Okay, well, the big heavy hitters showed up, except for Kareem, who apparently had some issue he couldn't be there. But Magic was there, Worthy was there, Cooper was there, Riley, of course, was there for a few people. But it was nice. And it was, and Jerry West's son Johnny spoke, and that was nice.
Good.
But I'm going to tell you something. People, go check out Simone. That's Seimone Augustus. Okay, check it out. She was really tremendous.
The on ESPN.com, Baxter Holmes, who we knew here from Boston, had an article about the Jerry and the Lakers. The feud. Yeah, the feud where he even said, he was quoted or at one point saying he wished he had never played for them or coached for them.
I got that. That's so sad. That's so wrong. He's so Mr. Laker, the logo.
He's completely Mr. Laker. I mean, it's Jerry West, Magic Johnson, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, and Kobe.
And Elgin. You got to throw Elgin.
You got to throw Elgin. But I always look at I look at Jerry as like Batman and Elgin as Robin.
Well, when they moved, trust me on this. When they moved from Minneapolis to LA and after the 59-60 season, and Elgin Baylor. Now Jerry was a rookie. Elgin Baylor was the franchise at that point for them.
Okay.
Absolutely. He was the one that captured the hearts and soul of the basketball fans. And Chick Hearn was there to sell sing the gospel, and spread the gospel on Elgin Baylor. And just now you're talking to, I'm hardly unbiased. All right. Elgin Baylor is one of my two boyhood idols along with Ted Kluszewski and Robin Roberts. But I loved Elgin Baylor, and I believe that Elgin Baylor personally reinvented an individual offensive basketball. Individual moves, ups and unders, and hesitations, and odd shooting angles, and everything else. Elgin Baylor changed basketball in that regard by himself in the late 50s, so he should be there. His career, he got hurt, and it ended. Sadly, it ended when he retired, and they replaced him in the lineup with Jim McMillan, and went off on a 33-game winning streak that night.
Yeah, that sucks.
But he was everything in LA. Until West gradually by like 6
over. Okay.
But eventually, he was long gone when Jerry became Jerry West. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. He was the man that really introduced professional baskdoll to the city of Los Angeles.
What happened between West and the Lakers? Because it really is sad.
I know. I'm going to plead ignorance. Exactly. I knew something bad, but I didn't realize, until as time went on, you hear the things. I know we had a difference of opinion with Riley, and they were buddies, and he hired him.
West hired him,
but eventually there was some conflict. I don't know.
Right.
And it's the idea that he ever worked. That he ever went to work for the Clippers was unimaginable, but he did. And he worked.
Well, yeah, and then in the story they talked about how they fired his son.
Went to Memphis and hired Hubie out of,
right.
And Hubie had something left. He had a fastball left. And I got him in the playoffs, Hubie, by the way, who's 91 years old. We work it again this year.
Amazing.
Another guy, someday he was really the guy who taught me more about NBA basketball. Well, two people, Tommy Heinsohn and Hubie Brown. And when he was an assistant coach with the Bucks, we interacted and we've been friends for 50 years. And I learned a lot of basketball from him. But it's remarkable. He's still got every one of his.
Yeah.
He's 91. He's going to be doing games again this year. So anyway, I recommend if people are fans, and Springfield's 2 hours away from Boston. If you're even if you're in Tacoma, it's a wonderful weekend. It's a nice night. And Ahmad Rashad, who you forget about because he doesn't. He's still the host, and he's terrific.
Oh, really? Okay.
He's still the host, and he's even though he hasn't done any, he's been off the TV
radar. Yeah.
How long? But he must love it, and he's very good. And so it's a nice night. I'm happy I was able to take part in it. And one sad note I want to pass along. Jim Calhoun was supposed to be a presenter for Bo Ryan of Wisconsin, Wisconsin.
Oh yeah.
And Roy Williams was there for him. Jim Calhoun arrived, I'm told now, in Springfield, and I won't say collapsed, but he was stricken with at the hotel, and he couldn't get there.
Oh no.
He's got some serious medical issue. And
that's too bad.
And so people, in Boston should know, and that, the Jim Calhoun, Braintree's own Jim Calhoun.
When I was at Channel 4, I did a story on him, and I did the history of Jim Calhoun, and I went to Braintree High. I went and I took a look at the graduation pictures and talked to people and all that. His story is amazing. Then to Northeastern, and then you get to UConn.
I went directly from Dedham High School to Northeastern, and as a coach.
Right, Dedham.
He's in AIC, American International College, Springfield, Massachusetts. That's where he played, AIC, and then he went into coaching, and he was coaching Dedham High, and they had a good tech. I think it was still the tech tourney then. It was, and in 1972, 71, and when Dick Duchire, long story, but he left to co-coach the Greek national team. He was the coach at Northeastern for many years, and there was some problem with his successor. There was an issue. There was an unfortunate issue that the guy, whoever was, and they turned to the coach of Dedham High School, Jim Calhoun, and that's how the real career got launched. Yeah.
Yeah, Donnie Marshall had so many great stories about him. What a character!
My favorite thing of all, I've known him. I've known him all this 50 years. His favorite thing is one year after I don't know whether it was after the first national championship or whenever, but one of his national championships, he was invited to throw out the first pitch at Yankee Stadium, and he said no.
That's him. Oh, that's him.
He politely refused.
Yeah, that's him. Boy, Donnie used to talk about sometimes in practice when he would get on players and he had that thick New England accent. God. They would be like, what did he say? And it just, Donnie loved the guy. And and I don't think I'm saying that, when Donnie in high school was a great soccer player, and he actually thought his sport was going to be soccer, and then he grew. So when he got to UConn, I don't think he was on the radar. He very soon became on the radar. But yeah, he loved playing for Calhoun. He would like read those guys the riot act, and they would just, and I think there was one game, playing Harvard or somebody at the beginning of the year, and, they're up by 25, Calhoun comes into the locker room, like, what are you guys doing? I was like, we're up by 25 points. Anyway,
well, I wish him the best, and I hope, but I haven't heard.
I hope he's okay. Yeah, definitely.
The best.
All right, Robert. Always a pleasure, my friend. We will talk again later on.
Yes.
But I'm glad we touched on the Jerry West thing. He was an original, no doubt about that. And I always felt like, to wrap this up, I always felt a little bad. Like even Tommy told me he's very hard on himself.
Oh. Nobody's harder on themselves that I've ever met than him. And his son actually had to acknowledge that in his speech.
Just so hard on himself.
Well, he's famous for that. And if you read his autobiography, West on West, it's terrifying. It's the darkest autobiography. His father was abusive. It goes on and on. And he's never satisfied. And, he was so tense and wound up that during those glory years with the Lakers in the 80s, and they'd have a home game, and he couldn't watch, and he drove around.
Oh yeah,
listen to Chick Hearn, and listen to the game. He couldn't even, and he would never come back here. And I was one of many that urged him that he would be so honored and gratified how well he would be treated in Boston, thanks to Johnny Most. A lot of it, and in addition to what people saw with their own eyes, because Johnny Most is the one player that he would not. He was Gentleman Jerry,
right?
Rambis called out from the sewer. Jerry, helped him out. And, he would have been so gratified with the reception, he wouldn't do it. He would
Yeah,
not.
he
He
wouldn't
would
do
not bring himself. The Celtics scarred him. He lost 6 times. You know that.
I know.
6 times he lost to the Celtics in the 60s, and he never got over it. Even when they won, it wasn't enough to wash away the bad
Right.
memories.
Yeah.
Yeah. He just really was. He was the ultimate profound pessimist, but a great man. And so anyway.
Bob, brought to you by Prize Picks, the exclusive daily fantasy partner of the CLNS Media Network. Pick more, pick less with Prize Picks. Bob, we'll talk to you again later in the week.
Terrific, Gary. Always fun.